Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. I'm Jamie. I'm going to be your host today. I'm just going to wait one more minute because I can see there's only about 10 people that have joined, and I know we had quite a few more signups. So I'm just going to wait 1 or 2 more minutes. Then I'll get started. We are recording this session as well. So if there's someone that you wanted to share it with, or in case someone wasn't able to make it, all these materials will be available to you as well, okay? All right, so I'm going to get started. So this evening's webinar is on gap year programs. This is something that a lot of people ask us in our strategy calls. They might be curious about gap year programs. They're not sure what they are, how to go about them. And it's actually a service that we've started offering. So we've started offering gap year counseling. So I just wanted to give everyone a bit of an overview on this. And then, it might be something that you guys decide you want to work with us on, okay? So just a couple little rules for the webinar. So I just ask that everyone keeps their microphones off for the duration of the session. Save any questions for the end. If you have them, there will be a Q&A period. If you do have questions that you want to get answered right now, my colleague Krisha will be monitoring the chat. She might be able to help you. Otherwise, she'll just keep a note of them for me to reply at the end, okay? And then at the end, like I said, I'll reply to a few. Some of them I might not be able to get back to you during this session, depending on how many there are. But if I can't get back to you, right now in this webinar, we will get back to you all by email, okay? All right, so about me, I'm Jamie. I'm one of the college advisors here at Beyond the States. I've been with Beyond the States for almost 2 years now. And before that, I was working in international education in Europe. I was based in Ireland, where I managed Erasmus programs, faculty-led programs, internship programs, language course programs, gap year programs for US students, Italian, German, all kinds of students that wanted to come to Europe. So I do have quite a bit of experience and did that for about 6 years. So I'm about 8 years experience in international education at this point. So I have a good bit of background, good bit of examples to share with you guys, in case you were wondering who I am. I know I can recognize quite a few of your names. I might have had strategy calls with you, or we might have worked together on a best fit list, but just for those of you who don't know me, that's who I am. So nice to meet you all. Okay, so why would students consider a gap year? So some students have different reasons for considering gap years. They might be at different parts in their education. They might be at different parts in their lives. So a lot of students might consider a gap year as a purposeful break between high school and college or during college. Another reason, I actually didn't put this in the presentation, but one reason, and this is actually why we kind of decided to start offering this service as well, is we're getting a lot of students that, might want to go to Europe, but they're not 100% sure if they even want to do a full degree. So they don't know exactly which path they want to take. So a gap year is a really good way to go to a different country or a different continent and see if they actually like living, the lifestyle in those countries. So what's good about a gap year, especially in Europe, is you can kind of touch on a few different countries and different areas, different cities, and see what the vibe is like before you commit to a 3 or 4 year degree in those cities. So it's a good way to kind of just go out and explore and see what life is actually like there. You get a little bit more experience than you would on a 1 or 2 week vacation. So it's a really good kind of opportunity to see what it would be like to live in these places before, like I said, committing to a full 3 or 4 year program. So that's something that wasn't always the case before, but I'm definitely noticing people are wanting to go for that reason, which is one of the main reasons why we started offering this service. So that's another one of the reasons. Some of the benefits are improved academic performance upon return. So some students might be very burnt out from high school or from a couple years in college. They don't want to go to school, but they don't know what to do. So they might go take this gap year, get a bit of practical hands-on experience, and then come back. And a lot of students actually report improved academic performance when they come back. Increase self-awareness and independence, of course. If you're used to always living in your own city, in your own state, going out and branching out and kind of being on your own for a couple of months to a year can really help your independence. Career exploration and skill building. So gap years are a great way to get hard skills, hands-on experience. You can volunteer, you can help other people, you can really try a few different things. So it could also help students maybe narrow down their major when they come back to the US. So there's a lot of benefits. Global perspective as well. Like I said earlier, coming out of your comfort zone, seeing a different continent, different country is a really nice way to globalize yourself. Gap year students are 60% more likely to report being satisfied with their jobs later on. Someone did a survey on it. I thought that was an interesting stat, I guess maybe because they got to, go out and explore a little bit, gave them a little bit more clarity on what they wanted to do. Okay, so types of gap year experiences. So there are a few different types of gap years that you can take on. So some of them would be more travel and cultural immersion focused. Okay, so that would be, just visiting a few countries, doing some cultural experiences, maybe doing a bit of, a little bit of volunteering in exchange for accommodation while experiencing the culture, usually in more remote or rural areas. So those are some types of gap years. Some of them would be more volunteering and service work based. So, you might be going and volunteering with refugees. You might be going and volunteering with, with children or with animals on farms. There's all different types of volunteering opportunities that you can do in Europe. Academic or skill-based programs. Okay, so some students might go and do a semester at a university, either as a registered student or as like an auditing student. So those are things that students might want to do as well. They might want to go and explore what the university might be like, that they're considering attending before they commit to these, longer term degrees. Internship and career exploration. This is a very popular choice. So internship and career exploration, of course. So if students might go to Italy to do an internship in fashion, and then they might go do another internship in Ireland in agriculture. So they might combine two internships in their gap year to see different areas that they might be interested in. Language learning is a big one as well. So students that might want to go and learn a little bit of linguistic skills while being immersed in the country, it's a great way to do so. And then mental health and self-discovery. So like I said, some students might be burned out. They might they might just need a little bit of time to themselves, a bit of time away from home, a bit of time to meet new people and learn a little bit more about themselves along the way. Like I said, these are all, the main types of gap years, but there are other options available, and these can all be mixed and matched as well, depending on, what kind of timeline and what kind of budget you have. So you can do a little bit of travel, a little bit of language learning, and then maybe finish with an internship or something like that. So these are all things that you can kind of mix and match and do. And that's the beauty of gap years, is they're highly customizable. It's just a matter of figuring out what you want to do and, the path to take it. So one misconception is that a gap year, a lot of people think a gap year is just taking time off. No, not necessarily. It's not a vacation. It's very intentional. It's very structured and reflective. It's growth focused. It's more of a year on and not a year off. I saw that quote and I really liked it. So it's definitely, not to be confused as some time off or a year to take a holiday. It's a year to really go and, figure yourself out, try some different things that, especially at this age, you might not have the chance to do it again. Once you graduate university, life might start moving very quickly. You might get job offers and you might not have had the chance to do something like this. So, it's a great opportunity to explore, try new things, learn languages, and it's definitely not a vacation or a year off. So what the research says, so 90% of gap year students return to college within a year. 60% of them say it helped define their career path, and higher college GPAs and satisfaction were reported upon returning after their gap year. Okay, so budget considerations. So again, this can vary wildly depending on how long you want to go, what type of programs you want to do, which countries you're going in. If you're looking at an Eastern European focused gap year, it's going to be significantly cheaper than if you're looking at going to France, Ireland, Netherlands, etc. So it really depends on your budget. But I'd say, you can aim to spend about $6,000 to $15,000 for about 3 to 9 months abroad. No need for expensive gap year programs because those are, they're quite more expensive than in Europe. Like I said, in the European options, you have access to language schools, public university courses, which can be audited if you arrange it with the university in advance. Some internships or volunteering could offer housing support and accommodation. So, there are some ways to kind of make it cheaper, but like I said, I would say for those 3 to 9 months, you can estimate to spend about $6,000 to $15,000. Okay. Most placements cost less than a semester of US college tuition anyway. So it's a good way to go out and explore. So who is the gap year ideal for? So high school graduates are a good candidates for this. I put 18 to 19 here. Some 17-year-olds are able to do this, especially if they're turning 18 during the gap year. However, there are going to be some limitations on minors, on 17-year-olds. There's going to be certain types of accommodation they won't be able to access. So for the most part, they're going to have to stay with host families. If they wanted to do any internship or work experience, they would likely have to wait until they're 18. Again, there could be some experience, but just for insurance purposes for the companies, they usually prefer to take 18-year-olds. So for high school graduates, if you are 17, you'd likely be looking at more of a language learning where you can go to school and usually staying with a host family. So you can always start there, and then you might be turning 18, a few months later, and then you can go and do an internship or a volunteering or something like that. Okay. So like I said, it is possible to kind of start it at 17, but if you're 18, it's a little bit better. So, for high school graduates, that would be people who are taking a break before starting college. They might want to defer university for a year. Maybe they didn't get into university and they'd like to go do a gap year while doing a bit of self-study to get their grades up or to do any courses. So there's a lot of reasons why high school graduates would go. College students, so between 18 and 22, or even up to 25, 28, depending on when you started college, who might want to take a year off, mid university, just to go and maybe do an internship, figure out what kind of careers they might be interested in. They're stuck, they don't know what major they want to do, so going off and doing a gap year can help clarify that a little bit when they get a bit of hands-on experience. Recent grads as well. So I put 22 to 25, but again, this could be older as well. People who are seeking a bit of clarity before starting grad school or before starting a career, or maybe they want to go to Europe and try to build some connections because they would like to work in Europe. So they might be going there to, do a bit of networking, do a couple internships, meet people and see if they can get a job offer out of it. So there are, gap years based around that as well. Gap years are open to students from any academic background. There's no GPA minimums, and it's really great for curious, independent, and globally minded students. They're great for students seeking to discover their passions before selecting a major, build confidence, resilience, and independence, learn a new language, experience another culture, get hands-on practical experience in real-world settings, and take a break to avoid burnout and return recharged. Okay, this is going to be my favorite part. So I've prepared a couple sample itineraries from some students, just to give you guys an idea of what a gap year might look like. I think that's kind of the big question that a lot of you have had for me before this webinar. So I'd just like to go through 3 different itineraries with you guys today, and that'll also give you an idea of the kind of programs that we can help design for you. So we'll start with this one. So this is the Language and Service Explorer. So this is for Emily, 18-year-old, recent high school graduate. So her goals were to learn Spanish, contribute, and grow independence. Her budget was about $9,000 US. So she started off in Spain, in Seville, for 3 months, where she did an intensive Spanish course, 20 hours a week. When you're doing these intensive courses at language schools, you have the option to either do them in the morning or in the afternoon. The morning is usually from 9 till about 12, and then the afternoon is usually from 2 to 5. The afternoon courses do tend to be a lot cheaper than the morning courses, so that's a way that you guys can save money. If you did want to do something like that, it would give you the mornings free to kind of explore Spain. So that's kind of how those language courses work. So she did that for 3 months in Spain, really got up her, her language skills, stayed in Seville. I don't know if any of you guys have been there. It's an amazing city, so sunny all the time. It's beautiful. So 3 months there is definitely a dream. And because she was there under 90 days, there was no need, for that visa. She was able to stay there, but she could have also applied for a student visa. Next, she went to Lisbon, Portugal for 2 months. So at this point, she was over the 90 days. So she would have had to apply for either a renewal of the tourist visa, so a further 90 days, or a volunteer visa at that point. So there are, again, this is something I'll talk about a bit later, but these visas are something that you can work around. You can get renewals. If you're a student in a language school, you can get them that way. You can get volunteer visas quite easily as well. So these are, not things to worry too much about, okay? So after the language course, she went to Lisbon to do some volunteer at a local youth nonprofit, where it was an unpaid volunteer, but the accommodation is included. So I believe for this one, the accommodation, it was kind of like dorms in a hostel style with other students who are volunteering there as well. So that's the kind of, when it's a free accommodation, it's usually a dorm room, okay? So she was staying there. Then she did a bit of solo travel. So she went on the train and traveled around more parts of continental Europe. And then she came home back to the States, got a part-time job, was doing a bit of reflection journaling. I always suggest students to write about their experiences, especially, if they're in high school. This can be used as something to include in your motivation letters when you're applying for universities, okay? So always try to journal while you're there, just so that you're able to write about it later. So what happened to Emily? She built language skills, gained confidence, made friends, of course, and discovered interest in international development. So next we have Noah. So he was more of on an academic journey. He was 19, taking a break from college, definitely wanted to figure out a little bit more about what he wanted to major in. So he had 6 months where he was able to take part in this. He wanted to reignite his love for learning, experience university life, and travel. His budget for this program was around $7,500 US. So what he did was he started in France. He went to study in courses as a visiting student at a public university taught in English. So because he was a visiting student, he was not able to use these courses for credit, okay? He was auditing the courses, which was fine. So he was happy with that. There are going to be possibilities where you can use those courses for credit, but you would need to go through your university, okay, your home university in the US. For this one, because he went independently as more of an exploration thing, he was just auditing the courses. He was able to stay in student housing, so there were some dorms in the university that he was able to stay in. And he also did a remote internship for a US company while he was there. So he was able to do his course auditing and then also do a remote internship for an American company. Then, on the weekends, he was traveling. He went to Belgium, Germany, and Switzerland. So this definitely clarified his academic path. He ended up selecting international relations for his degree. He, of course, improved his French and then created more of a global network for himself as well. So next, the career explorer. So this was Ava. She was a college sophomore who wanted to take some time off. So she took 9 months off for her gap year. So pretty much a full academic year that she was off. Her budget was a bit higher. Of course, she was, here for a lot longer than the other students. So she had about $12,000 US for this one. She wanted to explore career options and gain a bit of work experience abroad. So she started off in Amsterdam for 4 months, where she did a paid internship in a sustainable fashion startup. Okay, I think it was actually an e-commerce one. So she was doing a paid internship there. So for this one, she needed to get an internship visa. Okay, so this was something that she was able to get quite easily. There's an agreement for a lot of these with some European countries, so she was able to go and do that. Then afterwards, she went to Florence, where she did a bit of cultural immersion and the Italian language school. So she was able to improve her language skills and, be in Florence, which is an incredible opportunity to spend 2 months there. You get to, when you're there for longer, you really get to see what it's like in these places. And then she went to Slovenia, where she did an eco farm stay. So she was able to, these eco farm stays, you can stay on the farm and you work. So this one, I believe, was more of an apiary. So there was quite a bit to do with bees. So she was learning a lot about that kind of stuff, which is really cool. And then afterwards, she worked on her capstone project. Okay, so she worked on her portfolio, built up her CV. She was able to gain international work experience and then use this on her CV later on, potentially to apply for grad school. Definitely would have helped her figure out that she wanted to work in sustainability and design. So that was Ava's experience. Okay. So if you're interested in working with us, like I said, we launched this new gap year counseling service. So it's going to be personalized support to plan your ideal abroad. So like those 3 kind of years abroad that we just saw, that's something that we can help you guys plan. Okay. So, what it includes is a one-to-one session with myself. So we'll do a 45 to 60-minute kind of intake call where I get to know you. I can understand a little bit more about what your goals are around this program, what your budget is, how long you're able to spend in these countries and in Europe. And from there, I'll actually give you a curated best fit list for a gap year, kind of like the 3 ones that you just saw, with some resources as well. So I'll also provide all the information that you might need to help with housing options, visa, insurance guidance, and recommendations. So we'll really give you a lot of recommendations. And it doesn't stop there. There's some online courses as well, and I'm available by email if you do need any, any help while you're in your gap year or when you're about to take off. So it's definitely something that I'd love to work with you guys with if you're interested in. Gap years can be started at any time. So you can go any time of year. You can go in January, you can go in July, you can go in September. It's very personal. It's really up to yourself. There's no deadline. It is best to kind of start the process of planning about 2 months before, just because there are a lot of logistics involved, okay? Especially if you want to move around to different countries. So if it's something that you want to do, definitely try to start it try to contact us at least 2 months before, just to make sure that we can get everything in order in time. Earlier would be better. So yeah. And if you do want to go ahead with this service, we are offering for the next 10 days an additional $300 off our gap year program. We also have internship counseling services, language immersion counseling services, and teach abroad. So we're going to extend that that discount to all of those services as well. Okay, so did anyone have any questions for me? John F.
Yep, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So as far as planning a gap year, how much time in advance you think you would need to do it?
Yeah, so like I just said, I would say minimum 2 months. So you would need to contact us at least 2 months before. Of course, the more time that you have, the better. So, if your student is in their senior year and they're not sure about going to university, and if they might know about that in January and they want to start the gap year in September, that would give us so much time to plan everything and really get the best the best kind of options for them. But if they want to do something a little bit more last minute, I'd say at least 2 months would be okay as well.
Yeah, my son's going into 10th grade and he's showing interest in going to college in Europe. And so he's learning German now. And so we're just trying to get as much info as possible. You know, just trying to prep ourselves. So I like the fact that you can maybe
Yeah,
do a
exactly. It
6 month.
it
Yeah,
doesn't have to be super in advance either, and it doesn't have to be a full gap year. Even if he wants to do like a summer in Germany where he can just do like a language program and see if he likes it there, see what he thinks about Germany, he can do that as well. It doesn't necessarily need to be a full, 9 months
does he need to
program.
be 18? He needs to be 18 to do it, right?
If he wants to just do language school, he doesn't. He can be 16 or 17 for that. If he wants to do any work experience, he would have to be 18.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, Michael's Warren, what experience do you have with programs in the Baltics? I'm actually curious, did you have something in particular you wanted to do in the Baltics? Would it be for language experience? Would it be for work experience? Would it be to audit courses or volunteering?
We'll all go on audio, but not video. Yeah, our son has been to the 3 Baltic states. He really liked Estonia. We also liked Riga. It's a beautiful city. Not so. Vilnius was cool, but I think he'd be very interested in anything in Tallinn or Riga if there are programs that could be. He speaks Chinese, so the languages are not going to be helpful there. But the culture and the vibe of Estonia and Riga in Latvia really interested him, and he'd be a very young 18-year-old when he graduates from high school. He'll be like his 18th birthday, so he'd be very young entering college at 18 in 2 months. So we were thinking a gap period might be a reasonable thing for him to build some independent skills. And he liked that region of the world. It's more accessible than, say, China or Taiwan, where he's been. But it'd be easier to live independently in Northern Europe, we would think.
Absolutely. And I'm actually, I don't know, I'm really falling in love a bit with Estonia myself. It's really good for students interested in tech. Like there's so many tech startups there at the moment. So I don't know if that's an interest of his, but there would be a lot of internships and work experience that he can do in startups and in tech corporations. I mean, coming out of high school, it would likely be, kind of administration, a bit of office assistant, but there would be some options available for him to get a bit of work experience, language study, volunteer work in those countries as well. And I mean, the cost of living is significantly cheaper. So he'd get a lot of bang for his buck in that gap year as well. But I think that would be a really cool program to work on. And there would definitely be some opportunities for him, just depending on, what he wants to do and what he's interested in, what his goals are. There's a few good universities there as well, where, like I said, he might be able to audit a course or two, and then maybe do an internship in the afternoon or something like that. So yeah, there's definitely something that he can do in there.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love hearing when people are interested in the Baltics because a lot of people usually just go straight to France or Spain. So I love it. I love hearing the interest in those places. Okay, Dorian, are there websites or other resources you can recommend where students can find language schools, volunteer opportunities that can be a good match for gap year? So websites like where you would have, let's say, a database of programs, not necessarily, but there are other gap year counselors that have done blog posts. As far as volunteer opportunities, so there's usually volunteer centers in different cities or towns or countries where you can browse through the local volunteer center and see what kind of opportunities are available there. I can send you an email with a little bit more resources, but that's what I can think of off the top of my head. And then for language schools, again, a specific database, not necessarily. You kind of just have to Google and find which language schools are available. So it's a lot of just manual research. Okay, Kelly, to who are the costs associated with the various programs paid? Are the price quotes the same as quoted here if the gap yearee is a dual US EU citizen? So for gap year costs, a lot of the costs that I'm referring to in the budgeting that I had sent is going to be for housing, food, travel expenses, cost of living, And then, of course, you know, the coursework, if they're doing language courses. For EU citizens, for language schools, there might be a slight discount, but it's not going to be huge. A lot of the language schools are private owned. So look, it is something that, you know, I would take into consideration if we were working with you. I could give you, you know, a price for an EU citizen, but it wouldn't vary too much for the US from a US student. It's not the same as attending a full degree because it's a lot of travel, it's a lot of housing and stuff like that, which you wouldn't get a rebate on for being an EU citizen. And Lila, for the visa, I will send you just some information on that by email. Okay, it's a lot to get into right now, but I can send you some more information on the visa. Okay. Okay. Did anyone else have any questions for me? I think I got to all of them that are in the chat. But if anyone has anything else, we do have some time. No? Okay, perfect. So look, oh, John F.
Hey, me again. So back to what you were saying. So perhaps between like the junior and senior year in the summer, they could perhaps take a do some summer coursework and to get. So if he's leaning like, hey, I want to apply to whatever a college somewhere in, you know, pick a country, you can maybe go there and do a course like that summer or language course or something.
It would have to be a language course. So European schools don't like to give school in the summer, only for languages. So it would most likely be a language course, but it would still be a great opportunity for him to go, you know, even for 8 weeks, just to build up the language skills and see what he thinks of like living there. Because, you know, like I said, going there on a holiday is so different from living there. So it would be a good way for him to kind of check it out. Or, you know, he can do 1 month in Latvia, 1 month in Estonia, see what they're both like. Try to, you know, meet some other students that are there. It's a great, yeah, so that would be something that he can do, you know, as young as 16 years old. Usually though, for those, he would need to stay with a host family. He wouldn't be able to stay in like a private accommodation, but there's, you know, there's resources to find host families as well. It's more peace of mind for mom and dad as well, I think, when they're staying with a host family, but yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, everyone. So look, what I'll do is I'll send the visa information to someone else said Ginny and Kelly. Everyone else, if you have any questions for us, you can always book another strategy call with me. We can go more into detail. You can email me, or, you know, if you would like to sign up for this service, you can always just go on our website and sign up for it. We will be sending you guys this recording in about 24 hours. It takes some time to generate, so probably by tomorrow it'll be online, and you can share it with anyone that you want. I hope this helped, and look, I hope I get to work with a few of you in the next coming months. Okay, so thanks so much, everyone. Have a nice evening. Bye.